Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley and today we're going to be talking all about my Blend Bunny Cosmetics The Dollhouse palette. I picked this up recently along with a set of the eyeshadow brushes because I've been low-key super curious about this brand for a little while. I remember when the Surge palette released and all of just the hype that it got, and I was so interested in it then, but I feel like it released at a time when I had already purchased a whole bunch of stuff, and so I didn't end up getting it. But when I saw this palette, I was instantly in love and wanted to buy it. It's gorgeous. So this is Blend Bunny's take on a neutral palette. And these are the tones and these are the shades that if you have seen any of my videos, you know they speak to my soul. They are cooler toned. You have all of these beautiful sort of pinky purpley mauve tones in the center, but you've also got this row of kind of warm rusty oranges and these amazing earth toned sort of green khaki shades over here. Like this is what a neutral palette should be. I know that a lot of people are very kind of over the neutral brown palettes, and they hear neutral palette and they're like, do I already have it? You don't have this. You don't have this. So I've already done a first impression with this palette. I will link it right up there in the eye for you. I'll also have it linked in the description box below in case you'd like to check it out. And in this video, we're actually going to do 3 looks, 1 palette and talk all about my experience with the palette, whether or not I would recommend it, and all of those lovely things. We're also going to talk about the brush collection that I picked up. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the looks. All right, so start this look off, I'm taking my Blend Bunny B5 and dipping into the shade Display to work that into my crease using windshield wiper motions. One thing that I love about this palette is that it is very, very buildable. You're not overwhelmed with pigment from the very first dip. It's very, very forgiving. Then going into Vintage, I'm going to be deepening up that crease and also creating just a little bit of a wing shape in the outer third of my eye. I'm using a no-name brush from BH Cosmetics from their Lavender collection, and I think it worked really, really well for this. I'm just, again, building that shadow up slowly until I get the depth and shape that I'm really wanting for this very dramatic look that I'm going to be creating here. Now taking the Blend Bunny B1, I'm going to go into the shade Stitched to again, just really deepen up that outer corner of my lid. This is a very dramatic look. Now I'm going to be taking some of my NYX glitter primer and just tapping that all over my lid. I use my NYX glitter primer with every single shimmer shadow that I use. I want to create that really just sticky base. And then using the sticky side of my brush, I'm going to be going into the shade Harlequin just to add some sparkle to that outer corner. And then flipping the brush over to the clean side, I'm going into the shade Glass Eye and really packing that onto the remaining blank space of my lid. This is a little bit of a sheer eyeshadow, so it really allowed for me to go in a couple of times and give that really just beautiful aqua blue punch that I really wanted to contrast that deep outer edge. Now taking my Blend Bunny B4 and dipping into the shade Hold Me, I'm gonna begin to define my lower lash line. And then taking a little bit more of the shade Stitched on a tiny pencil brush, I'm gonna take that right against my lower lash line, finishing off the look with a combination of Lace and Pretend to brighten up my inner corner. Now moving into this second look, I'm taking the shade Plastic on my Blend Bunny B5 and working that slowly into my crease. I really love the tone of this orange shade. It's orange without being too aggressively so. It reminds me almost of like orange sherbet. I felt like it applied very, very nicely and sheared out very beautifully. I think this shade is probably one of my favorites in the palette. Then I'm going to be taking Fasten on my Blend Bunny B3, and I'm gonna begin tracing my crease out just to begin the shape of where I want that cut crease to fall. And then I'm going to continue dipping back and forth just to bring more and more definition to that crease until I get it to the shape and depth that I am happy with. I will be fully cutting the crease. This is just the outline. And then using that same brush in the shade Fasten, I'm going to begin to create that wedge shape in the outer third of my lid. Again, building it up slowly until I get the shape and the depth and the dimension that I'm really looking for. These darker shades are so user-friendly and they apply so nicely to the lid. It's very easy to get the exact shape and color that you're looking for. I'm also going to take just kind of a dampened piece of cloth here just to clean up and sharpen that outer edge really nicely. Now taking some concealer and a teeny tiny flat shader brush, I am going to go ahead and carve that crease out using the age-old trick of putting a little bit down and then looking up to see where you naturally fall. I do have hooded lids, so I sometimes have to go just slightly above my natural crease so that I can get the shape that I'm looking for. I'm not very practiced at cut creases, but I think this one still turned out very nicely. And then taking a pencil brush, I'm going to go back into Fasten, and I'm just going to use that to trace out any of the kind of crooked lines that I may have gotten. I just want a very sharp, nice, precise line. Now going into lace, I'm gonna go ahead and pack that all the way across the part of my lid that now has the concealer on it. I was very impressed with this shade. There's no glitter glue down. It's just going on top of the concealer itself. And I really like in lace that it has that sort of white gold flip to it. I think it's a really, really interesting color. Now taking kind of an angled liner brush, I'm going back into Fasten, and I'm taking that right across the lower part of my lash line on my lid to create kind of like a faux wing. Faux shadow liner so that you really get that definition there at the lash line. And then again, going back into Fasten with my Blend Bunny B3, just going ahead and cleaning up that line. I really liked the way that the shimmer peeked through a little bit of Fasten as I created, again, a more defined wing wedge shape over the existing shadow. I thought it looked really neat, especially in person. Now again, going into Fasten with my itty bitty pencil brush, I'm just running that along the lower lash line, only about to the center, and then using just whatever was left over, bringing that a little bit forward so that you get a nice soft lower lash line without getting too heavy and aggressive. You guys know that I tend to do a very understated lower lash line, and then of course cleaning up the very edge of where that wedge wing is. And then finally taking some of Plastic on a Blend Bunny B2 and running that right underneath that very fine line that we created using Fasten just above it, just to give everything a nice even sort of look to it. Going in with just a little bit of eyeliner. I've been really enjoying putting 2 different shades of eyeliner. This is Juniper from ColourPop and then Gilded Gold from Julep, because it helped to just kind of reinforce the different shades on the eyelid. And then going into Tulle, I added just a little bit to my inner corner just to add a little bit of shine and definition there as well. Moving into the final look, I'm first dipping into Baby Doll using my Blend Bunny B5 to create the base for this purple halo eye. This is a quite light shade and took a bit of building and blending, but that's what I love about it. You get the color and the intensity that you're looking for without going overboard. Next, I'm gonna go into Rouge with my Makeup Geek Defined Crease Brush to further define the crease and really, again, build that gradient from the very light pink to the slightly deeper pink. I think that this worked really, really well and allowed me to, again, get it to the perfect intensity that I was looking for with a lovely gradient. I think these shades are perfect for that. Now I'm gonna go into the shade Cinched using my Blend Bunny B1, and I'm going to start building that up to bring that depth and dimension to the outer corner. And I'm really taking my time to make sure that I get it to look exactly the way that I want. This purple is absolutely gorgeous. I'm then going to do the same thing on the inner corner so that we have those contrasting sides of the eye. Now taking a bit of Little Sister on a flat packing brush to fill in that center space of the lid. This time I used absolutely no concealer, no glitter glue, no nothing, and it's still applied beautifully, picked up on the brush beautifully. These shadows, these shimmer shadows work perfectly regardless of how you're applying them, and I really, really, really love and respect that about this formula. It is very nice. Now I wanted to kind of bridge the two shades, so I went into the shade Dress Up and I worked those along those center edges. This is another shimmery shade and I think it just melded everything together in a really, really wonderful way. Now I did want to deepen things up just a little bit further, so I went into the shade Plume and I made sure to add that just to the outermost edges of my eye, both the outer third and the inner, just to again bring that gradient and that depth and dimension to the look. Finally, I used my finger to go into a little bit of the shade Pretend, which is this amazing duochrome, and the name Pretend is perfect for this shadow, but I just lightly tapped that over the center and it added just the perfect accompaniment. Now going back into the shade Rouge, I'm gonna go ahead and work that all along the lower lash line. You guys, I don't like doing the halo on the top line and the bottom, so you're not going to see me go in and mirror it. Instead, I'm just going to again build a little bit of the shade Cinched down on the bottom, working about to the middle of my eye, and then finally taking a little bit more of Pretend and adding that to the inner corner. On my eye shape, this is what works best. All right, my friends, so I think it will come as absolutely no surprise to anyone that I am highly obsessed with this palette. Highly obsessed with this palette. So this palette does retail for $45, which for 30 eyeshadows, I think is absolutely fair. I have no concerns whatsoever with the price. Even before having tried the eyeshadows themselves, I feel like $45 for a 30 pan eyeshadow palette is really good. Now that I've experienced this eyeshadow palette, I think that it is on par, if not slightly better than my luxury eyeshadows. I think that these are amazing. When it comes to the mattes, they pick up on the brush, they disperse, they blend so beautifully. I'm able to layer shadows together without having any sort of muddiness. Things don't get lost. You've seen in the 3 looks where I've used multiple mattes together in one look, this being a good example. And they all complement each other and work so, so well together. I love the shimmers. I think that they are impactful and beautiful. I love that I can pick them up on a brush. I don't have to use my fingers, but they apply just as beautifully with the fingers as they do a brush, and I find that personally to be very, very important. I have used these shimmers with and without my NYX glitter glue, and I have had just stunning results and beautiful longevity with them. I do have hooded lids and I have not experienced any sort of creasing or fading throughout the day in either the mattes or the shimmers. My eyeshadow look is just as stunning at the end of the night when I go to take off my makeup as it was when I applied it. And I do not have enough amazing things to say about this eyeshadow palette. I don't typically say that you need things, but honestly, if you have been having your eye on this palette, get it. It is so good. Also, the brushes. I am in love with these brushes. I literally want to go on and buy another few sets. Now these do retail for $32, and again, I feel like that is totally fair. They are very sturdy. I feel like they're very well made. I think the sizes of them are absolutely perfect. You can get, I did all of my looks with almost these exclusively. I think the only other brushes that I used were a couple of flat packing brushes like these right here, because they don't have any in the set. And then I also used one angled brush, and I used one sort of fluffy dome brush from Makeup Geek, just because I didn't want to go back and forth and combine colors together on the brush. So, oh, and of course my beloved little tiny pencil brush. But yeah, I feel like these are amazing, amazing quality, and I want more of them. And I want them to come out with more brushes, because they are so good. I mean, I know that I am just like, I'm fangirling all over the place, but I really am so incredibly impressed with both of these items, and I really, really want to go and buy the other two eyeshadow palettes. I really do, because they are, if they are anything like this, then they're going to be sheer perfection as well. So one of the things that I did really, really love about this palette is that these dark shadows right here, I'm typically someone who's very intimidated by deep shadows. Like you guys may know, black eyeshadow is something that I avoid whenever possible. And so this initially was such an intimidating row. I figured I was not going to use them hardly at all, but I am so pleasantly surprised. These are the most user-friendly and approachable deep eyeshadows I have ever experienced. They are honestly, they're a joy to use, because I find that they are pigmented without being overly pigmented. They don't take over the look. Everything just works so, so well together. So now that I see this, looking at the other palettes and seeing that they have a lot of deeper shades in both of those palettes, as well as some really, really bright, vibrant colors, makes me much more willing and wanting to go experiment with them, because I can see that the formula is so just top notch. So I gotta ask you, have you tried anything from Blend Bunny? Is Blend Bunny on your radar? I would love to know what your experience is, what's your thought, what's your opinions, everything. Tell me down in the comments below. Also, which look was your favorite? I would love to know. I would love to know. As always, everything that I am wearing, as well as everything that I have talked about, will be linked in the description box below. And if you have not yet subscribed, I hope that you'll consider doing so. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope that you're having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.